Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dallas Hoops Fancast. I'm your host, Sydney, and I'm here with my co-host, Martin.
What's up, guys?
So, going into Game 2, the thing that I was most concerned with was how the Mavs were going to be able to score without the crowd noise. Because I know that was a problem for the Lakers, and so I was like, crap, what if that keeps the Mavs from playing well because there's no crowd noise?
I know we're about to get into this super awesome game
But
from
first,
the Mavs, but Chris Webber, I didn't like you as a player. I like you less as a commentator. And not only that, it was Clippers, Mavs, Clippers. Clippers are inserting their will into this game. Mavs go up by 9.
Yeah,
I can see the look in the Clippers' faces. Mavs go up by 15.
There was a point where the Mavs were up by like 10, and Weber was like, the Mavs are staying in this game.
And I was
they're hanging in there. And I'm like, they're blowing them out.
There was a point when the Mavs were actually up, I think they were by 18 in the second half. And Kawhi made a shot, whatever. They're about to go to commercial. And they did this highlight montage of Kawhi. And I'm like, why are we watching Kawhi?
Yeah.
Like, they're down by 18.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's just a little spiel. They wouldn't shut up about the Clippers. Obviously, because the Clippers are the
Okay, so the Clippers are the second seed. And
Yes.
a lot of people picked them to win the championship. I picked them to win the championship. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're going to win this series. But thus far, I'm going to be honest, the Clippers have not looked the way I thought they would.
And I have a theory about that. So
Spit your
let's
theory
get into
at
this
me.
game first. So
Oh,
what
I
did you
thought that's what we were talking about.
Yeah. What did we see from this game?
The Mavs won.
Okay. Great analysis.
Hashtag analysis.
And that's it for tonight, guys. We'll talk.
Oh, you want me to say something actually
If you'd
insightful?
like, it is your
Okay.
podcast. I'd like for you to.
Martin, it's
Okay.
our podcast.
Please.
Okay. I saw a few things. One, the Mavericks defense was, it's not like it was all-time great, but it was solid. It was solid
It was the
whole
best
way
defense
through.
they played all year.
Yeah, they held the Clippers to 114 points.
Which sounds like a lot, but
Well,
in
not
today's
in today's
league, it's not.
And they shot 44% as a team and 29% on three-pointers. And now some of those were open and they just missed. That happens every game. But honestly, their defense, it was tough. They don't have the best defenders in the league, although they do have some very good defenders. But really, it was just movement, like moving their feet, rotating, closing out. And it was constant. It was the whole game.
And defense is about effort and discipline.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, if you have elite defenders, then you're going to be a lockdown team. But you don't have to be the best defense in the league.
Right.
You just have to be good. And you have to be good when it matters. And that's late in the game. And I agree. The Mavs defense was great. I thought Lucas set the tone from the very beginning of the game.
The very first play was an alley-oop.
Yes, the first 5 minutes when the Mavs went up 15-2, Luka, it was like the Milwaukee game.
Mm-hmm.
He basically came into this game, was like, I'm going to set the tone from the beginning. We're going to be in this game. We're going to be in this series. And, unfortunately he had foul trouble, but I thought he really set the tone to start out the game. And then the Mavs bench, Seth, Trey Burke was just amazing. Every time the Clippers would make a little bit of run, the Mavs would come right back and hit a couple of shots that extend that lead right back up to 9-10 points.
Yeah, well, that's the second. So the first thing was their defense was great. The second thing was their mental toughness.
Yes.
Because, they can score. And so they got leads or they went on runs. But the Clippers obviously are very good. And so they would go on runs or they would get close or they would make shots. And the Mavericks were they stuck with it. Like the mental toughness they had to stick with it and to make these huge shots. It wasn't like, it's a tie game and they got to make a basket, but it's almost harder than that because it's when the Clippers are coming back or they're getting to within 5 and Hardaway or Dorian or, obviously Luka would hit a shot just to push them back in their place.
Yep.
And that I was so impressed with.
I say the toughness was really impressive because the Clippers are kind of an intimidating team. Mm-hmm. You look over there, you have a Terminator, and you have Paul
robot.
George, tail, grabbing onto his jersey, riding the wave. But then you have Montrezl Harrell, who looks like a guy that's going to murder your entire family. And Lou Williams has got 2 girlfriends. Like, these are like is a very intimidating team.
Yeah.
And
Well,
anytime
and also they're talented.
and they're good. Well, obviously they're really good.
Yeah.
So every time they would make a run, and the Mavs had that mental toughness, that mental fortitude to continue. They didn't play like a young team.
They didn't.
They played like a veteran team. And I know it's just one game, and the Mavs very well could lose the series in 5. I understand that. That's not what's important. What's important here is the way the Mavericks responded in this particular playoff game.
Yeah, I
It was
mean,
a learning experience.
they, like you said, they didn't play like a young team. They played with a lot of confidence. And it wasn't like, to me, in the last game, I asked the question, was there anything in this game that they couldn't replicate? As in, was that a fluke that they, almost won that game, the whole Porzingis thing? But was it a fluke that they had a double-digit lead at one point? And the only thing I could pick out was the defense, and I would say the same thing for this game. It's not like they got on fire and, hit 53s or something crazy. I mean, they just played a solid
Balance.
game.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, they made 50% of their shots, 45% of their threes.
That's
good.
really good.
It's really good. But I mean, they played a solid game offensively and defensively, and they didn't have a lot of stupid plays. I mean, they did have some, but they didn't have a lot of catastrophic plays. Yeah, they didn't play like a young team.
Well, they only had, I think it was like 8 total turnovers. Let me pull it up real quick.
Total team turnovers 9.
Yeah.
And Luka, after
Only had
having
1.
11
Yeah.
turnovers, had 1
And
turnover.
that one turnover was actually a bogus travel
yeah,
call.
Yeah, it was not a travel.
He didn't actually travel. So I thought it was great. I thought Luka played well. I thought Porzingis struggled at some times in the game, played well at others. He's still trying to find his way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he did have 23 points on 13 shots. So
Yeah.
the efficiency was there. He had a couple of times where he actually protected the rim, did a really good job protecting the rim. He had a really bad foul there at the end with Montrezl Harrell. But I told you 2 things that were happening with the Mavericks in late game situations. One, obviously, they were panicking. They were freaking out. Their offense was stuttering, and they weren't making plays or whatever. And I told you at some point, they're going to figure that piece out. And this was before the Milwaukee game. I said it's just going to take one game where it's the same situation, and they're going to be like, no more. We're done with this. I'm not saying they've done that, but it appears that they are playing better.
I would agree.
Late in games. And the other thing I said was the shot making. The percentage that the shots were going down for opposing teams late in games was absolutely ridiculous. Like every 3 that a team needed to get back in the game was going in. I told you at some point those percentages are going to go down. You saw a little bit in that because everybody was nervous in this Clippers game when it went to 10. We were like, oh my God,
I was so nervous.
Clock.
I can't handle the playoffs. It's too stressful.
But they missed their shots.
Yeah.
They didn't go down like they've been going down all season long. And the Mavericks continued to just play.
Yeah, I'm going to say something about Kristaps that, I don't know. He's not Luka.
Well, no.
And I think, he had 23 points, 7 rebounds, a block on 13 shots. To me, that's the player that he is. He's not the number 1 option. He's not an MVP caliber player. He's kind of like Kawhi and Paul George. Now, Paul George was in the MVP conversation, but I was a little surprised by that. He is a superstar, but he's not like one of these guys that's just on that top level. I think Kristaps is kind of like that,
And that's okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's going to be 20 to 30 points, probably around 25.
To be fair, there's not many players as good as Luka.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's not a negative thing to say that Kristaps is not on Luka's level.
Yeah,
because nobody's on Luka's level.
Yeah, I mean, my point is like we shouldn't be, I guess disappointed or like say, Kristaps had an okay game, 23 points.
Well,
it's like, no, that's really good, and that's who he is.
But I would disagree.
Okay.
I think he has another level he can go to. I still agree he's not
consistently.
Yes.
Okay.
He's not on Luka's level, but I still think he has another level to go to. There's still some things he's still not fully confident in his game.
I'll agree with that.
Yet. And so you'll see stretches where he's in rhythm and the confidence is there because of the rhythm. But then you'll see stretches where they need a bucket And in the past, I think with the Knicks, if you watch some of the Knicks highlights, in the late game situations, he was getting the ball and he was scoring. He doesn't have that confidence back yet. So I think they're still trying to find that. And also, as much as it's great to play with Luka, for role players, for other stars, it's got to be an adjustment because Luka has the ball the majority of the time.
Yeah, so about Kristaps' confidence, I agree with that. Like, if you watch him in New York or in EuroLeague, he was just
a different player.
He was just a different player. He just did everything. He was everywhere doing everything, and he played with so much, like, confidence is one word, but so much freedom. He felt like he could do everything, and he could. I mean, obviously that's why he's a unicorn. Whereas here, I feel like everything is more calculated, and he's thinking about.
He's thinking too much.
What can I do? I don't think I can do this. So what can I do? And obviously, I don't know what's going on in his head, but from the outside, it looks like he's thinking a little too much about it. So I would agree with that.
So I think he has another level to get to. But yeah, obviously, there's a handful of guys that are on the same level of Luka. Kawhi, LeBron,
Jordan.
Anthony Davis, Jordan. So,
Wilt.
But yeah, the game was awesome. Luka got that fifth foul, and I was a little nervous there in the fourth quarter when he sat out for the majority of the time. But the Mavs bench, well, they built the lead even higher.
And Trey Burke, because when Luka went out and Trey Burke came in, it was like, man, we need you, Trey. And he'd been good
awesome
the whole game, but especially during that stretch was so crucial because they're without Luka, and it was early in the fourth quarter. So I mean, they had a big lead, but it could have gone either way. And he finished the game with
15 points, 16 points. Yeah.
16 points. And, I mean, man, he can take guys off the dribble.
He's lightning quick. And I think the Mavs' offensive scheme is the perfect fit for him. It has been for guards
like
all the time.
Him. Yeah, Barea.
Because of their spacing.
Roddy.
Because he's little.
Yeah.
And so he can't finish.
And he's quick.
Yeah, he can't finish when there's a big down there protecting the rim. Because he doesn't have the same lift and he just doesn't finish as well. But because of the Mavs spacing, the lane is open for him, and he can blow by his defender any day of the week. He's lightning quick.
I feel like he blows by his defender every time. Like anytime that's his plan, like that's what he's trying to do, he does it.
Yep.
And it's like a wide open layup every time. And
because there's no defender down there.
Yeah, and I don't know, and that's also maybe just because of like when he's on the court. Like obviously since he comes off the bench, he's not out there when like Zubac is on the court. So that probably helps. And then like you said, the spacing. And I don't know if the Clippers will make an adjustment for him. I doubt it because
they're going to
probably
make
lower on their list.
They're going to make an adjustment to their defense in general.
Yeah,
because the Mavericks the Mavericks in the second half of the first game, they only scored 41 points. But come on, we all know what happened. Porzingis went out, and even when he's not scoring, he's still impacting the spacing of the floor.
His
gravity, yeah. So they're going to make a change. One of the changes is I don't see how Zubac continues to play, and that's perfect for the Mavs because he's been kind of killing them.
So in this game, he played 18 minutes. He had 3 points and 4 rebounds. Yeah. And in game 1, he played 22 minutes. He had 10 points and 10 rebounds. And I want to say their last game in the bubble, he like freaking killed them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he did. He was 19. He had 19 points, like 10 of 10 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, if they can make him a non-factor, then
it really helps them.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what happened in this game is the Mavs spacing and ability to get to the rim. It took Zubac out of the game because he can't do a pick and roll. He can't guard the and thankfully the Clippers don't really do a lot of pick and roll on the other end because probably the same thing would happen with Porzingis.
I guess so.
Because Porzingis has struggled against guarding the pick and roll. Maybe that was just Damian Lillard.
Yeah. So. I wonder why they don't do more pick and roll. I guess maybe they don't have the personnel for it.
Well, they do with Harrell and Lou Williams, but usually that's the bench, and Porzingis probably isn't guarding Harrell.
I was going to say, Kawhi and Paul George are really mid-range guys, but I feel like that could still work with a pick and roll. What do you think about Patrick Beverley not being there? Do you think that played a role? I mean, they won by like $28 billion, so probably.
I like Beverley as a player, but I think he is not that much of an impact. Like, yes, they have a lot of great defenders. How
Mm-hmm.
much better is he? Is he just that much better to where Luka get? And first of all, Luka scored 42 points on him.
True.
So
Yeah.
no, I don't think that had an impact at all.
Yeah. Luca had a near triple double.
He would have got one if he didn't have foul
Yeah.
trouble.
28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and only 1 turnover. Again, yeah, 8 for 17. It's like, and this is his second playoff game
Mm-hmm.
ever. And it's like, this is so crazy because I feel like we're just jumping all over because there was
It's
just,
an exciting
yeah,
game.
there's
There's
just
so
so
much
much
to talk
and,
about.
and what's so crazy about it is like they're playing in a way that we haven't seen them play consistently throughout the season. And so part of it, you could, see it as a fluke because they haven't done this before. But also it's like, man, this is the second game in a row. If they can just maintain this level of focus and discipline, this is the way that you win. And you brought out a good point while we were watching the game of having that top 10 defense and with their offense, how far that, I mean, if we like totally get ahead of ourselves, how far that could take them.
Well, so every champion, I think, in the last however many years, decades, they were in the top 10 in both offense and defense.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mavericks have the all-time best offense. So all you're asking them is to just be a good defensive team. They don't have to be great. Just be the number 10 defensive team. And if Carlisle is able to convince them to put that kind of effort on defense, they're a contender because you're automatically in top 10 in both. So obviously, again, the Mavs very well could lose this. But you saw glimpses of potential greatness with Luka and Porzingis and Carlisle.
Do you think that the defense they're playing is sustainable?
It has to. It's been 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, they were playing really good defense in game 1, and things just kind of unraveled there in the fourth quarter of game 1. But I thought their defense was great on both, and also Maxi's defense on Kawhi. I know Kawhi had 32,
Yeah,
and
35
35,
tonight. Yeah.
whatever. But I feel like Maxi really makes him like I don't see any open shots for Kawhi.
Yeah.
Everything's contested. And yes, he's making them, and that's because he's a great offensive player.
He's a finals MVP. I mean,
Yes,
yeah.
but one of these games, they're not going to drop because of the defense.
Yeah, I mean, he was 11 for 21 in game 1. He was 10 for 21. I agree that I think as a whole they're playing great defense. Part of that is Maxi. And Kawhi is making shots. Now, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if they weren't playing this defense, would he be going for 40 or 45 every night? I mean, who knows? But I agree. I think he's playing good defense. About their team defense, currently in the playoffs, they're 6th in defensive rating.
Yeah.
That's according to NBAstats.com, which is different from BasketballReference.com. But, anyway. So far they do have a top 10 defense, and then their offensive rating is their 8th. So they're top 10 in offense and defense.
Yeah, well, and their offensive rating took a real hit in game 1 in that
Yeah.
second half.
Yeah, true.
But after tonight, like, they scored 124 points, and they had a focus, and they never trailed. They led from the very beginning.
Right
and
from the beginning, it was like...
that's what veteran teams do
Yeah.
to the lesser opponent. That's what you would expect from the Clippers.
The Mavs just outplayed
They
them.
did. And my biggest... Okay, so going to my theory with the Clippers, why we
Right.
haven't seen
Oh,
that team that everybody
that we
talks
thought we
about.
would- that
that
I
even
thought
I
we would
thought
see.
was...
Yeah.
I think they are underestimating their opponents. They don't respect their opponent. And even in Doc Rivers' timeouts, and I know maybe only I thought this.
The way you perceive it.
The way I perceived it. But all of his focus, like he kept saying, the reason we're down is because of us, because we're not doing this, we're not doing that, which, okay, blah, 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 great. But he wasn't saying, hey, you can't allow them to do this. You can't allow them to do that. You have to guard the paint here. He just kept saying, look, guys, if we just play our game, we beat them. And there's this presence with them where I think they're underestimating their opponent. And that's ultimately can hurt them at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I go back and forth on that whole thing because you could make the argument that the Clippers are trying and playing their best game, and the Mavericks are just playing really good defense, and they have the best offense. And so in the end, they're prevailing because of that.
Yeah.
You could go the other direction and say the Clippers aren't playing their best game. I mean, to me, they look
They look
not very
discombobulated.
good. Yeah.
Well, and the
and is that the
Mavericks
Mavs
shredded
defense
them.
or is that their focus?
I think it was the Mavs offense.
Or yeah, I
The
mean,
Mavs offense, it shredded them.
they did.
They just shredded
the
them.
whole game.
They
was
were
like,
highlight
It was
plays.
a clinic.
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
clinic.
There were
They
plays
put
where
on
we're
a clinic
doing
against
no
the
look
best
passes.
defensive team in the league.
Yeah,
DeLon Wright had a no look.
It was a
pass.
beautiful play, and that poor guy just
Almost redeemed himself. Almost.
Can you just not do this to us?
He
you know?
okay. It's like when he is on the court, when he has the ball, it's like he doesn't know what to do, and I think he just has no confidence right now. But he just dribbles around. Yeah,
just steal the ball every time, and you're good.
He just dribbles around like, oh God, oh God, oh God, what do I do? And then
turnover,
passes it to somebody or turns it over or something.
In game one, he just handed it to the defender.
Shoveled it to Mark. Like, I don't know what to do with this, man. You take it. And it like in this game when he came in, it was like the same thing. He just kind of dribbles around. It's like, what are you doing? But then he'll have a few plays like that where it's like, can we get this man some more minutes? So I don't know.
I thought Seth was awesome.
Oh yeah, Seth.
I thought even there was a couple of times where we could have gone back to him. Like he had hit 3 in a row, and then DeLon brought it down and started doing stuff. And I'm just like, I felt like we could have continued to ride that horse. But who am I to say? Carlisle. And this is Carlisle is a master at getting underdogs to believe.
He is a great playoff coach.
Yes.
I think he's
walking circles around Doc Rivers right now.
Yeah. I mean, the way that and I always thought that they are really great with their schemes in the playoff, their defensive schemes in the playoffs.
Substitutions.
Yeah, like they did it, obviously in 2011. They did it in the last series against the Spurs.
Series, yeah.
And so I was expecting some like really wild and crazy defensive scheme. But honestly, it's been totally normal. They're just playing well.
He just has a way
They're
of
playing with
motivating.
confidence.
He has a way of getting them to believe. And you saw that in that 2016 Mavs. I think it was 2016 against Spurs.
The Spurs, yeah.
Or 2014 or whatever. Went to get seven games. The Spurs won the championship that year. And the Mavs were the only team to even challenge them. So he has a real way of doing that. Yeah, he's a playoff coach.
Yeah.
And as great as Doc Rivers is, Carlisle Carlisle's making him look like a novice right now.
Well, I mean, Doc Rivers has won one championship.
And so has Carlisle.
Carlisle's won one. And then, Doc Rivers had Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Blake, he was with
Rondo, not Blake.
No, I was thinking with the Clippers. Was he here when Blake Griffin and Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan. And now he has Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Obviously, he's a great coach. I'm just saying. Anyway, what was I saying? The Mavericks are awesome, and I think they're winning the championship.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's not going to happen.
Well, okay. Speaking of Seth Curry, he had 15 points, 6 of 9 shooting, and he was a plus 30.
I know.
Which I think is a sign because he wears the number 30.
Yeah, okay. I thought every time he was in the game, the Mavericks offense was unstoppable. It was
unstoppable the whole
their
game.
spacing is amazing at times. Like you have Porzingis, Curry, Hardaway, Luka, and whoever else you want, Dorian,
yeah. And he was 2 for 4 on
the
threes.
spacing on the court. That's why Trey Burke can get to the lane. That's why Luka finishes so well at the lane, because there's never any bigs down there. Because if you're down there, then Porzingis is either going to get a cut and a dunk, or there's going to be an open 3.
Okay, so what do you see happening in the rest of this series? Because I thought the Clippers were going to beat the Mavs straight out. Like, they had no chance. We talked about how this is the worst matchup for the Mavs, but I didn't expect the Mavs to play like this.
Well, Luka's playing like a legit MVP.
Yeah.
He's playing like a legit top 5 player in the league.
This is playoff Luka.
And this was a quote-unquote bad matchup because of all the defenders, the wing defenders they could throw at Luka. And it hasn't had an impact. And that was really the most dangerous thing, was all of their defenders. One, Paul George is an overrated defender. He just is. Okay. I know some players get a reputation for being this lockdown defender, and they're just not. And nobody can stop Luka.
can't.
I've yet to see a player in this league keep Luka in front of him.
When he's like totally focused in a game,
There's
and
nothing you can do.
yeah, I mean, proof of that is this series so far.
Yeah, and then he's doing freaking trick passes 1 minute left in the game against Giannis, the best defender in the league. So I don't know if I think Game 3 is going to be a nail biter.
Yeah,
and I think this series is going to mirror a lot like that San Antonio series.
I was thinking the same thing.
And I think ultimately the Clippers will probably win the series.
Yeah.
But
it might be 7 games.
It's going to be a tough. I thought it was going to. I thought if the Mavericks got 2 wins in this series, that's an absolute win.
Same
for them.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about how it mirrors the Spurs series, because in Game 1 against the Spurs, the Mavs had a 10-point lead with like something like 5 minutes left or something, and they ended up losing. And
Game 2 was a blowout.
Yeah, and then they blew them out in the next game, and it's like, man, if they had just kept that lead, they could have had this, and then maybe who knows what happens in this series. And the same thing with this one. It's like, that's why the Kristaps ejection hurts so much, is because you can't get that game back.
And that's what the refs, let's say the Mavericks do lose in 7. Who's to say they don't win in 6 if Porzingis doesn't get ejected on a bogus ejection?
Yeah.
And not only that, you can see that ejection actually did have a real impact on the team, because their offense is just different when he's not out there.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's like people were making the argument that the Mavs probably were going to lose anyway. Or they still had a chance, that the ejection didn't affect the game. And it's like,
it clearly
anytime a player gets ejected, it affects the game, whether it's the best player or the worst player, just in some way it affects it. Yeah. So, okay, are you changing your prediction for the Mavs losing the series?
I still think the Clippers are going to win in 6.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a hard-fought 6. And I think that's a great series, a great learning experience. Now, I will say I am a little nervous about the Clippers. Mm-hmm. They're not as good. And really, so everybody kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt the whole regular season.
True.
But this is kind of what they've shown in the regular season, that they're not really as good as they should be.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, well, they've had injuries, or they'll turn it on when it matters.
Yeah, well,
and
I think it was like Kawhi and Paul George played together like 3 times or something crazy. And so it was like they just didn't care about the regular season. Yeah. They were keeping guys healthy. They'll flip the switch. Because, Paul George has had so much success in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We can expect that.
Yeah. You're seeing the same pattern, though, with them. So I'm a little nervous about them because I picked them to go to the finals.
Yeah, same.
We'll see. I don't know what to think anymore.
I don't know, man. Like there's a chance that in Game 3 the Clippers come out and they're the Clippers that we thought they were going to be, and this was just a good wake-up call for them.
I felt like this would have been the game to do that.
Yeah.
Because if you're the Clippers, all you heard over the last 2 days was the Mavs only lost because Porzingis got ejected.
True.
And if Porzingis was playing, blah, 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 blah. That's all they talked about was the Porzingis ejection. I felt like, and even Charles Barkley said before the game, he felt like this was a game that they were going to, stomp on their throats and end it.
Barkley's prediction was that the Clippers were going to come out to end the series in this game to show the Mavs, this is who we are, this is what we do. When in reality, the Mavs did that, and the Clippers came out and didn't do anything.
I don't know. They looked disinterested, almost like they're tired of being in the bubble.
I don't know if they looked disinterested. I mean,
they didn't have an answer for the Mavs offense.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm being biased or over-optimistic, but watching the game, I felt like the Clippers were playing, like their body language didn't seem off to me. It seemed normal.
They just couldn't keep up with the Mavs spacing.
Win. Yeah.
Like the Mavs' ability to drive and dish was it was unstoppable. And it didn't matter if it was Luka or Trey Burke or Seth Curry. Even DeLon had a few. And if they weren't making a pass or making a basket, they were getting fouled.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's possible the Clippers make a really great adjustment, or that they come out and they be who, they become who we thought they were going to be, but
they are who we thought they were. I'll tell you what, Carlisle already knows what adjustments they're going to make.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, he's probably saying, if I'm the Clippers coach,
yeah, true.
What would I do?
If Doc can see it, Carlisle can see
exactly.
it. Yeah.
So Carlisle would already know.
Okay, we'll see what's going to happen. That's it for this episode. I don't know if there's anything I want to plug here other than thank you for watching and listening. DallasHoopsCast.com is the site. If you
Twitters, we haven't been doing
and
the
the Twitters, I'm at _ Sydney Myers. Martin is at Martin L. Myers. The show is at DallasHoopsCast.com. By the way, if you can't always listen to full podcast episodes, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, I post clips from each episode. So it's 3 to 5 minute clips, so you can get the most interesting parts of each episode in case you don't want to listen to the full thing. So the channel Dallas Hoops Cast on YouTube, subscribe to it so you can get all of that plus other videos that we make. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.